All right, everybody, welcome in. Just getting started here. All right, Jay, what's up, man?
What's going on? Can you hear me?
I can.
All right.
Although it sounds like it's going through your monitor, not exactly the mic.
How about now?
There you go.
There we go. I figured.
Yeah, you're wearing that
Oh,
corner hoodie. You better get that right.
I don't know how to respond to that one. We're not really a physical medium. We are a physical medium instead of an on air product. We do have podcasts, but it's just all I'm saying is I would be I don't I think I get a pass if I mess it up. Like I'm at a newspaper instead of a radio station. But
Uh,
well,
as you sit in a radio station right there.
yeah, okay, I'll give you that. But the professional aspect.
Yeah, we all know you're a professional. It's okay. No one doubts you.
I really hope not, because it seemed like for a minute you were coming at me,
Never. I
and
would never.
I was feeling some type of way for a minute, but I was like, what a way to get the show started, right? Like like I was anyway.
Yeah. All right, so welcome in everybody to our weekly NFL show. As always, same format as usual. We're going to be talking about reviewing our matchups from the previous week, as in we'll go into maybe what set out to us this previous week, and then of course we'll preview our matchups for this weekend. I think there's some really good games that are going to be going this weekend, so I'm excited to talk about some of those. But all right, Jay, let's talk about just get started as usual. Going into our week review for the Week 10 football. What was your game of the week? Your mic's muted. Not after all that.
Yeah, I'm off to a bad start. All right, okay, here's where I lock in. All right, my game of the week. It was an obvious one.
Mm.
But it was Eagles Packers. And we're just gonna get this discourse out the way right now. I'll start with this AJ Brown stuff. Um, okay, a couple weeks ago when we had this conversation about AJ Brown and the whole
Mm.
like cryptic tweet stuff, I thought it was nothing. And to be fair, I don't. It could have been nothing. I didn't take it as a big deal because I was like, at the end of the day, he's entitled to say like, I feel like I'm not getting the ball. I feel like I'm not getting the targets that I want. But the Eagles were still winning, so it wasn't a big deal. This past week felt like something different, where I was like, all right, there genuinely might be something going on, or it's just diva shenanigans.
Right.
Which it could be, it could genuinely be one of those two things, and either one I wouldn't be surprised with. Obviously, like there's clearly a lot more to this, and he can feel like, hey, I'm having a bad season because I'm not getting targets, I'm not getting touchdowns, I'm not making the impact that I feel with this team. But when you look at the how the season has gone and they only have 2 losses, I don't see like, and obviously like this Packers win was a 10-7 a 10-7 win against the Packers, and it was very much a defensive battle. And at one point the commentators were like, well, like it was 0-0 at half. and they were like, like, "This has to be the most, like, entertaining 0-0 game," and to be honest, like, I have to agree in that sense, and I don't know if that's unpopular or not, but I think we saw 2 defenses that were really great and built for the playoffs, like that, like, it's that tough, like, grind out a win type of vibe, and the Eagles
Mm.
just happen to do that, and I think especially, like, these are the games where it's like, you really get to see who you are as a team, and at no point did I feel like the Eagles, like, weren't in a comfortable position. Well, obviously, like, the game was 10-7, so there wasn't like I wasn't like I was like, "Oh, the Eagles are struggling," or anything. I just saw it as, like, the Packers defense is that good. And to earn a win like this, it means a lot. And I think people will look at it and overreact because you have a high-powered offense and they're not going out and scoring 30 a game, but they really don't have to. Like it's just not realistic to expect things to be flying on all cylinders. Like it's just not realistic. And obviously, like for the Eagles case, it's been going on for a while where it's like the entire season has been back and forth. There was a couple good weeks of Kevin Patullo. And people are like, is it really Kevin Patullo? And then now we start to see like there's cracks again. The team has 2 losses on the season. They're leading the NFC. I don't see an issue where it's like, all right, we need to force feed AJ the ball because if you do, like, you don't know what will happen. Clearly, the flow that they have now, as much as people like are gonna say like, oh, like it's like we don't like it. AJ Brown should get more targets. That's fair. They're winning games, and that's what I'll always tie this back to. And going into this matchup, like I really didn't I wasn't worried too much about the Eagles offense because once again, like the Packers defense is that good where it's like like they're scheming around Micah Parsons to try to avoid him, to try to minimize his impact. The offensive line is banged up. So there were some penalties where it set them back a couple of times. Like there were things there, like, and then of course, like Kevin Patullo, where he's doing the third down, like he's doing the halfback draws on third down, which drives me crazy. But it was more like the Eagles shooting themselves in the foot at times throughout this game, where I was like, all right, like a thing or two goes better. Like Eagles are capitalizing off of these drives, and they're putting a lot more points on the board than people think. Like it was, there were some crucial moments, like some false start, some false start stuff, some holding penalties, some like discoordination between the offense that like really like didn't allow them to like get to a higher scoring output. But at no point did I say like, all right, like I'm severely disappointed in the Eagles like offensive output because like yes, they only scored 10 points. Those 10 points were enough to win the game. And I think like obviously like you want to have the offense flying on all cylinders. You want to have AJ Brown getting the ball. You want to have Smitty getting the ball. But when you have all of these, like I've watched a lot of Temple basketball, and one of the things that head coach Dion Richardson stresses is equal opportunity offense. And I very much view the Eagles in a position where they have an equal opportunity offense where anybody can get the ball at any point in time. And that's just how I now relate to just the Eagles offense as well. You're not going to have AJ Brown and Smitty going for 100 yards a game each every game. It's just not realistic. Some days it'll be Saquon Tate, sometimes it'll be AJ Brown, sometimes it'll be Dallas Goedert, and that's just how the offense works. At the end of the day, they got the win. And over to the Eagles defense. I talked about the Packers defense playing phenomenal, but the Eagles defense was just as good. Obviously, what a debut for Jalen Phillips. I think that needs to be said right away. I texted you and I was like, how he did it. Like how we I don't know every year how we get to these conversations of like this man is that good. Where it's like he's able to like evaluate where the Eagles are at the trade deadline and say like, all right, we need to make these changes. We need to go in this direction. And we talked about the boost that they were kind of getting on that defensive line of getting a Brandon Graham back, getting a Noah Smith back, and trying to work him into rotation a bit more, and then obviously adding Jalen Phillips. And I think like obviously like the defensive line looked hugely like just a lot better. And obviously Jalen Phillips is the easy one to pick at and say like, all right, like he's looking really good. But also like a Jalen Hunt like had a really good game as well. And like there was one of the people that they were looking to take that next step. And he really did. Like at least this game looked a lot more comfortable. And obviously that helps from having, more pressure from a Jalen Phillips to kind of like, get him opportunity as well. So I was really impressed with the Eagles defense. And I think like that should be the takeaway more than like, oh, the Eagles offense is so dysfunctional or anything like that.
Yeah, and I'm glad we're picking it up from there because for my unit matchup I actually had the Eagles defense versus the Packers offense basically. Mainly I did want to look at the D line with this, but I took like kind of like the holistic approach. But to add on what we were saying about like just Jalen Phillips individually, he had 7 pressures this game. which is like second most than any Eagles had all season. So already he's making an impact there. And then what you saw with like him and Nolan Smith coming back, and I mean even Brandon Graham, I think he only had like 6 snaps this game or something like that. But I mean the Eagles just got more pressure in general this game. It was a noticeable difference. And in fact, you saw that they weren't like I think they only blitzed or they rushed 5 or more people. Oh, it was less than 10%. So, like, they're already you're kinda seeing this defense go back to what we saw it be last year, especially, like, in the playoffs and the Super Bowl, where it was like, they're comfortable just using 4 guys on the line to go after the quarterback, which means everyone else can get back and play their coverage or do whatever it is they need to do. And when you have a Vic Fangio defense that can operate like that, where you can just trust your 4 pass rushers to, you know keep that run integrity on the outside, but also be able to pressure the quarterback, whatever from whoever it may be, and then also just like not let any big runs happen. That's when the defense can be like we saw this last game, where it's almost elite in a sense, where it's like everyone is playing their roles perfectly. Vic Fangio can play exactly how he wants to play. He doesn't have to make up for something by rushing an extra guy because they're deficient in some area, like, whether it be in the middle or was been for most of the season on the edge. Now he can just open things up way more and have his team just kind of play more relaxed, and they don't have to think as much. It's just kind of like get to your spot and just like don't make the big mistake, which is like I said, like a lot of what we saw, especially when they got into the playoffs last year when they really started like nailing things down. So immediate boost from the defense there. Quinyon Mitchell's been awesome. He's been lining up more often on both the left and the right. Like we've seen him in like his rookie season where he's mainly kind of lining up on one side of the field. We're now seeing him travel more often and kind of be more versatile in that way. And I don't know, man. Like someone who also really has been popping to me, especially these past couple of games since he's came back, is Nakobe Dean. And I don't know if it's being talked about enough, but I mean, everyone was kind of questioning because the rookie Jahad Campbell, who was like a defensive rookie of the year candidate, he was just playing so well. Everyone's like, well, what are you going to do when Nakobe Dean comes back? And I think people did kind of forget how good Nakobe Dean was. The physical stuff may not flash as much as like when Nakobe Dean or when Jahad Campbell does certain things, like, carrying a receiver or a tight end up the sideline. But Nakobe Dean can do some of that stuff, but it's also he's so smart. He just always knows where to be. He's always seems to be like if he's not the first one to tackle, he's always like one of the first few guys there, or he's the one that helps make that tackle happen because of his discipline, and he's always just where he needs to be, and he's always seems to be able to predict like what the offense is doing. So, and he's just a leader in general. Like before he got injured last year, he was the one wearing the green dye, and I'm pretty sure he is again. So it's just like having that leadership and that kind of like talent and that specific skill set back in the middle of your defense like that also just helps out so much. So now that we've got like a healthier and upgraded Eagles defense, I think we're really starting to see them come back to form from last year. But then that brings it all back to the point where what everyone's talking about this week, where it's like the offense now needs to hold its end of the bargain, which is kind of what AJ Brown he had to clarify and say because of the live stream stuff that happened where he's talking crap about the team, saying like it's a shit show and whatever else it may be. But I mean, he was straight up said he was like, I don't blame Jalen Hurts. It's not this. It's like he's like, even if I am open sometimes, it's like in the moment you don't see that the safety is also crashing down on me and taking it away. So I don't blame him. But to his credit, like I think he's right. Like they're not scheming him or giving him these options where it's like they're getting him open. It's kind of like it just feels like they never call a play for him unless they go rogue, which apparently Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown did at the end of the game on that fourth down play where everyone was questioning, like, why are you going for this fourth down here? Like, you can just end the game right here, basically. But then they go for that big fourth down throw to AJ Brown, which they didn't hit. And we've seen them do that before, and where him and Jalen Hurts have gone rogue, like, hey, let's just get one big play. And I don't know if it's them trying to stat pad or just them trying to be like, hey, like, I got you. Like, this isn't my fault kind of thing. But there clearly is something there that's off, and I do think it might just come down to Patullo and him not having the ability for some reason to scheme up these plays for what should be a top 3 receiver within the NFL. So kind of confusing in ways like that, but I still have faith that the offense can pick it up, especially as the offensive line hopefully gets healthier and everyone's kind of starts to settle in a bit more. But I don't know, man. Like it's one of those things where if it doesn't get fixed by like the playoffs, basically, then I'm gonna be a little less confident in this team going forward, even if the defense is playing at this level.
Yeah. Obviously, like not to use another sport analogy in this, but like it's the same way that the Phillies pitchers can be as great as possible, but if they don't have run support, like things fall short. And I think like we're not at that point where we're having those conversations with the Eagles defense or the Eagles offense, because they're once again like it's just enough to win games, which I think was the issue for people a couple years ago when they were going to when they were winning these close games, and it's like, all right, like what is happening? Um, in regards to that final play of the Packers game, I think that's a decision that, like, like, if it works, everyone loves it, and it's like, "Oh, it's so bold, like, it's exactly what you needed, like, what a way to seal this win," and if it doesn't work in this occasion, people are gonna be like, "Well, why'd you even go for it?" It's like it's essentially like, it's very much a win-lose scenario, and the Eagles just, like, ended up on the loss, column in that area because it's like it's risky, but when you have a big body receiver like A.J. Brown, where it's like the Vikings game, for example, they basically ran the same play. He had single coverage, and Jalen threw a perfect ball, got to AJ, went down and sealed the game. Not the case for this game. And that's just how it is. Like the Packers are once again a phenomenal defensive team, and they were ready for it. And it was like it was kind of predictable. Like like on a big fourth down scenario like that, they're either going to they're going to look at their big body receiver and AJ Brown, who like they cannot target all game, but in the clutch, like in those plays, like that's where they'll look at. So I like once again, it's a decision where if it was caught, this wouldn't be a talking point at all. We wouldn't hear anything about this, and I don't think it would be a big deal because it wasn't caught. It things became a bit hairy, and even then, I don't think it was a big deal. They won the game. Yes, like it needs to be hashed out if they're calling rogue plays, but like Jalen has done it all season.
Yeah.
And we don't know how to what extent because we're only hearing bits and pieces of it, like oh the Smitty touchdown or like this piece or this play or anything. They just played to Saquon. Like we're hearing these type of things, but we don't know for sure like what part is like all right, like here's Jalen and AJ or Jalen Smitty and Saquon going rogue or where's like Kevin Patullo's influence on all this. It all gets a bit muddled. But I can tell you those third and long draws are Kevin Patullo for sure. But that's all.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say about that.
Yeah. I will say this next game against the Lions that they have, they may have an opportunity to get AJ Brown kind of going. Like if they want to make him happy because AJ Brown, if you look at the numbers, he still is one of the top 5. I think it's actually like top 3 players when you look at the numbers against man coverage and like the production he's getting from that, the separation, like just the yards per route, like all those numbers. Like when it comes to man coverage, AJ Brown is still one of the best offensive players in the league. And the Lions play, I think, man coverage on like 44% basically of their defensive snaps. So if they continue to do that, then maybe AJ Brown could take full advantage of that against a Lions team where I don't think there's any corner that could cover him one on one. I mean, that's for damn sure. I mean, you can say that about most teams in the NFL, but like the Lions have been beat up in the secondary, and they've also just got some younger players that I think AJ Brown could feast on. The Eagles are also probably one of the more blitz teams, though, as Jalen Hurts is just consistently getting blitzed like every game, like at a higher rate than most people. But he's been handling it well for the most part. But he also seems to operate better against man coverage. So this next game, I didn't pick it as a game of the week, but the Eagles on Lions could end up being like if the offense does get back on track and the defense did play as well as it was last game, we could see this game turn into almost like a shootout where they're both teams are getting close to 30 points. So that could be a fun one to watch. But if they're unable to get AJ Brown going in a game like this, unless he's getting like double the whole time, then it's only going to get worse. But I think that's all I got to say for the Eagles for now.
I'll save that discussion for the second half because that is one of the matchups that I wrote down potentially. But I'll transition to my unit matchup, which was the Colts offensive line versus the Falcons defensive line. And what a matchup. One, I think this is I don't know, just a general note, just like any international games, typically because they're in the morning, they usually throw just 2 teams out there and say like, all right, like you're not going to see the Eagles and Chiefs in London. But you'll see like the Jaguars all the time, the Browns, the Jets. And then you see like the Colts and Falcons, which like on a typical year, the Colts don't make any noise. We don't hear too much about this. I think that's timeout. TreVeyon Henderson just has like second touchdown of the game. And they said they wanted to feed this man.
He's been playing well.
I have him in fantasy, so no complaints. But yeah, typically they throw 2 randoms out there, and on a typical year, the Colts don't make any noise. But this is the year of 2025, and Daniel Jones for a short period of time was an MVP candidate. So has he come down to earth a little bit? Potentially. Speaking of him, he was sacked 7 times in this game by the Falcons defensive line. The Colts won the game 31-25, one of the better London games or better international games we've seen. And Jonathan Taylor, though, while the pass protection was a bit shady, the run protection was there. 32 carries, which is a lot. 244 yards and 3 touchdowns. What a stat line. And I wrote this down because of last week where he was coming off this like game where the Pittsburgh defense just completely stifled him, didn't give him any opportunities. And I was like, all right, like here's your chance to go out there and prove this against this younger Falcons defensive line that has like these hungry guys. Like let's see what they have. And to be fair, like those young guys like James Pierce and Walker as well, they both had a forced fumble in this game, which to be fair was on Daniel Jones, who has looked really shady, especially when it's come to pass protection. But either way, the Falcons' defensive line like looked good. Jonathan Taylor looked even better, and this is why he should be an MVP candidate.
Yeah, I mean, it was a career high day for him. 286 scrimmage yards, which is just, I mean, nuts. And it feels like every game he's scoring 3 touchdowns. This is what I was saying. Like, no disrespect to what Saquon Barkley did last year. Obviously, his 2,000 yard season and all like the way he was scoring his touchdowns with those like 60 plus yarders was amazing. But like, dude, Jonathan Taylor, he's on pace for some crazy numbers here. Where we're gonna have to have conversations about him also, like we did with Saquon last year. Like, dude, this guy should probably be considered for MVP, and especially with like there are a few quarterbacks where you can make the argument for right now, but like Matthew Stafford and guys like that potentially. But I don't know, man. Like it's a if he continues on this trajectory and none of these quarterbacks really kind of separate themselves, where it's like a okay like 40, over 4,000 yards, over 40 touchdowns kind of thing, then I feel like maybe we have a chance of a non-quarterback getting the MVP this year, just because of how well he's doing. Because we don't have any quarterbacks like having like an insane season like we did last year between Lamar and Josh Allen, which I would love, man. Because Jonathan Taylor's just he's sick. Like
Yeah.
the way it's not like he's just like going through some open holes. Like he's like his contact balance, the way he's breaking through tackles, just the speed that he has, like everything he's doing. You're just like, holy crap! Like this guy is just he's having an all-time season, and it's weird. Like I'm sure it is being talked about a lot. Like I guarantee it is. But I mean, he's already at 15 touchdowns, and so like once you get to 20 plus, like or like we're about to be into week 11, and I think they're on a bye week this week though. But so I don't know, man. Like if he gets to like 25 plus touchdowns, he's got to be in the conversations firmly.
Even and obviously like the rest of the season has to play out, but like the way things are going, like and you mentioned it, I think like it's typically like all right, what quarterback is standing out? And you say like all right, like Matthew Stafford has had a great season so far. Is it MVP worthy? I think
Mm,
that's the question where I'm like I don't think so. And I think when you have a running back who's doing this, and obviously like we're in the boat of like it doesn't matter what position you are, who's the best. Like let's see it. But for those people who are like it's a quarterback award, this is the year where it could be different. So I firmly agree with that.
yeah, I mean, I kind of hope so, man. I did also. I'll get to my game matchup last, but like we just had so many like connections here. So my player matchup was a part of this game, and that was Sauce Gardner potentially going against Drake London. They had 17 matchups in this game. Drake London got half of those passes, including a two-point conversion on Sauce Gardner. All the touchdowns that he had were not on him, although there was one where there was a linebacker that ended up on Drake London on one of his touchdowns, where it was kind of like the back right of the end zone. And it looked like Sauce Gardner kind of like maybe messed up. I don't know. I'm not in the room, but like from the perspective of like rewatching the game and everything like that, I feel like Sauce Gardner may have messed up and like broken coverage there. Just not. I mean, which look, it was his first game with the Colts, so it's like you can understand. Like, and it's an international game. That's probably like he's probably got a lot going on his head. Not to make him excuses, but I feel like usually you're not gonna have a linebacker covering Drake London in the end zone. So
Yeah.
it felt like that was maybe part of his mess up. But unfortunately, we didn't see him more than those 17 matchups. But I mean, Sauce, he does look like he's going to be a great fit for this team, which I mean, it's kind of scary that like even if their defense, their offense for the Colts is regressing like a little bit, which should have been predictable. Like you can't have that kind of production all season, but like you're still getting carried by good quarterback play and receiver play from your guys. Jonathan Taylor's the best running back in football right now. Your O line is good, but then you add a Sauce Gardner, a guy like that to your defense, which is now can play better. The Colts are like becoming like a real like kind of contender, especially in that conference.
Yeah, and I think a bunch of people kinda, like, were naturally, they were waiting for the downfall of the Colts a little bit, and when they lost to the Steelers, it was like, "Well, see, like, this is why we shouldn't trust them, like, this is why the Bills and the Chiefs are, like, perennial, like, AFC championship picks because, like, the Colts can't win these big games."
Yeah.
And to be fair, like, uh, things get different in the playoffs. We see like even look, and the Seahawks are playing great. The defense is looking phenomenal. I need to see Sam Darnold in the playoffs before I make any definitive statements about, like, how far I think that, like, Seattle will genuinely go just because of how bad he was last season. And to be fair, completely, change of scenery. He's looked a lot, like, better than last season even and is taking a step up. So I don't wanna completely, like, say, like, "Oh, like, I need to, like, see it before I can, like, definitively make any statements." But to be honest, like oh, sorry, I missed it. It was a deep shot right there that was dropped. It was it I just need to see, consistency from a Sam Darnold, just the same way people are looking at the Colts and saying, like, I need to see a Daniel Jones in this playoff atmosphere, type of vibe. So,
And look, we'll get to the Seahawks later too a
yeah.
little bit, but I mean, if their defense is scoring touchdowns like that, it might not even matter.
Yeah, I was about to say it, like, Sam
That
Darnold,
defense is
yeah, he doesn't have to do much if DeMarcus Lawrence is getting 2 touchdowns.
yeah. Uh, Real quick though, let me talk about my game of the week, which
Yeah,
was, and then we can move on to some more stuff that stood out to us this last week. But I had the Ravens and the Vikings. I kind of wanted to see, like, Lamar still kind of working his way back from injury, like a second game. And then you got JJ McCarthy, who's also been coming back from injury, his second game. So kind of want to see how both of them are gonna do. Like, are they gonna look healthier? Like, is there gonna be like anything wrong here? Um, and then the Ravens have kind of been like, I feel like they do this every year, where the first half of the year they kind of disappoint in some way, and then like week 10 on, we saw this again last year. Week 10 on, all of a sudden it was like, oh wait, there's that top five defense we all thought there was going to be, and Lamar still doing Lamar things. I'm not saying we're seeing that kind of drastic like improvement with the Ravens, but they've definitely looked a lot better. Obviously, they would since Lamar Jackson got back. I mean, especially like in this game and since he's been back, he's getting the ball out like a lot quicker, man. Like he's just not letting guys get to him, and he looks so much more comfortable out there. Zay Flowers has been a really just consistent weapon for him since he's been there, but like last year, this year, just the underneath route stuff, like the yards after the catch, he's just so useful when it comes to that stuff. But then you still have your two tight ends out there, Rashad Bateman, who can get you a touchdown every once in a while. Derrick Henry looks like he's finally come back alive again as well. So it's like you get Lamar Jackson back, you get your identity back as your offense, things open up a lot more, and that you can see sort of like what we saw a little bit last year, where it's like, okay, this offense can open up a little bit more and they can get a little bit more comfortable. And maybe the Ravens can go on some kind of run here. It's not, that division is not exactly like the Steelers aren't really running away with it. Like a few weeks ago, we are like, oh man, the Steelers kind of got a lead, but the Ravens still have a chance here to like make some way up to win the division and get to the playoffs with a better seeding. And I don't expect they're going to get home field advantage, but you know, you still like it's better to win your division than not, obviously. So yeah, and then on the Viking side, man, dude, they blitzed like 60% of their snaps this game. Brian Flores was just like, anytime he goes against a quarterback who can mildly run the ball, he's just like, well, I'm just going to attack you like the entire time. Like he likes to blitz in general. I think that Vikings this season are like around the mid 50% range when it comes to blitzing. But so the fact that they were at like basically 60% this game shows like he was really trying to get after Lamar. But again, he's been getting the ball out quicker and he's been really good against a blitz. So he's in general, like I think now even Jalen Hurts has improved in that a lot, but I still think Lamar Jackson might be the best quarterback against the blitz, like especially in games like this where he can get out of the way, step up, get that extra yards, whatever it is, get the ball out quick. He's just been awesome. But the Vikings on offense, we do have to talk about JJ McCarthy in the game he kind of had because I mean the offense in general was just disjointed. They had 8 false start penalties in this game against the Ravens. Like that's just insane. Like I don't know, like 8 is like if my team has 4 false starts in a game, I'm like losing my mind. So I can imagine Vikings fans seeing them do it 8 times. Like that just kills so many drives. I think once they got past like the game script, like those first 2 drives, they for the offense, this offense just stalled out, man. Like it was like JJ McCarthy looked like a deer in headlights. Like I'm still obviously like we talk about like this with like Michael Penix and Jaden Daniels, some of these other younger quarterbacks where you're like, I kind of want to see them go through 2 full years of experience before like, and then like halfway through that third year is usually when you can be kind of like, all right, what is this guy? I think you have more of an understanding. So I'm not going to push the panic button on Jason McCarthy at all, but this was not a great game for him, man. I mean, the interceptions he had, the first one, he basically just threw to the Ravens like double coverage, and Malachi Starks got his first interception of the season because of it. It was a great play by him, but it was still a terrible throw. Like he overthrew it. It was right to the defenders. And then the second interception he was trying to hit Justin Jefferson on like a deep kind of like post route where it was I don't know, it was like man coverage too. So usually if you see, Justin Jefferson one on one with a guy deep down the field, you're like, okay, like I don't blame JJ McCarthy for throwing that. But the way he threw it, it was like he threw it too early before Jefferson could even like break in, it feels like. and then he just kind of like fell down anyways, and then that's another pick for you. So I don't know if that's completely on him, but still, just a throw. It was like, all right, yeah, it's Justin Jefferson, but also at the same time, like that he threw it too early. Like he kind of stepped up and like panicked through it before the route could develop. So then, but these are all things you can work on with him. Obviously, it's just I think there's still a lot going on. You can kind of see like everything's getting sped up for him if there's anything in his face. So I don't know, but yeah, it's weird to see though a Kevin O'Connell offense be this disjointed and unable. And part of that is probably because the run game's not as well good, and you're dealing with this young quarterback, and the O line hasn't been as well as it has been in the past. But yeah, just not a great game for the JJ McCarthy fan club. Which I mean, I'm not on the island right now, but I know there's a lot of Viking fans that are.
Yeah, and it's ironic that we're having this conversation because they just put a graphic up on the Thursday Night Football game, and it was like youngest quarterbacks to start, and it's Jackson Dart, Drake May, and JJ McCarthy. So like there's plenty of time still left, and I'll save a deeper analysis because I'll stay tuned because that's a matchup I'm looking for next week. But my player matchup, well, I once again, you know, I like to. I think it's becoming a trend where I have to like now weekly do like yes, I'm doing a player matchup, but I'm also doing a fun one. So my fun one last week was it was Jets fans versus Browns fans mental health. And it was low because they played each other, and it's like, and they're in a weird position because it's like, you're okay. You're both teams that are going different directions of tanking. I think the Jets are doing it better, especially if they're going to sell their players and get draft picks in exchange, and also the Browns are the Browns, so they're going to mess things up inevitably somehow. Um, so I was going into this very curious to see what the approach would be because, ooh, excuse me, I'm all over the place. Um, when you have a coach like Aaron Glenn, he's not just gonna, you know, like bend the knee and just like, you know, like say like, all right, we're gonna mail it in and just lose the rest of these games. Like they're trying to compete still. And I think you can see that with some of the intention that they're playing out there. So the Jets did win this game 27-20. If you call it a win, Jets fans, I don't know. Like, and that's why like I was like I literally wrote Jets win like dot 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 kinda like because like obviously you want to slip down into like, you know, a better draft position. But I think you want to win against the Browns because the Browns
I,
are the worst organization in running football. Well,
so yeah, and I think for Jets fans, because like I said, I live with one. This just to me feels like a yearly appointment for them, where it's like, okay, we get halfway through the season. The hope we had the first, you know, whatever, 2 weeks probably was already gone by week 3, whatever it is. And then you get to a point where halfway through the season, you're like, okay, we just kind of want to lose now because especially as you're getting all these picks from these trades you're making, and then now you're just like, well, we may as well make our own pick the best one. So it's like you have a thing where it's like, hey, it's bittersweet. It's like, okay, cool, we won, but we're already at a point in the season where it's like we don't want to win, and
yeah,
it's not even Thanksgiving yet. We're already in kind of like tank and sell off mode. So
yeah,
yeah, I don't know.
and and this game is weird because like you look at the stats and it's like Justin Fields only threw the ball 11 times. He was 6 for 11 for 54 yards, a touchdown and an interception. They ran the ball 33 times. So this was like, and this is once again the intention of like what we you know we knew with this team, but like they really have kind of said like, all right, like we're doing it, like we're going full like for it. Like Justin Fields had more rushing attempts than he had passing attempts. Um, and then looking on the other side of this, like Dylan Gabriel still sucks. I don't think there's any like I was trying to find a journalistic unbiased way to say that. I don't think there is any other way besides I don't like watching him play for the
we're,
Browns.
we're getting close.
Yes, and I okay, but then like once again I brought this up a couple weeks ago. Like, is it that they really don't like Shador, which I think it is,
I
or is
think
it
it
that
is.
like is it that Shador is that bad where it's like we because like and like obviously like the Browns know what type of team they are. They have to know what type of organization they are, and they're like, well, if Dylan Gabriel isn't playing well for us, then maybe it's good that we leave him out there so we can you know kind of slide further down and or whatever. But if like if your defense is playing at least moderately good, which they are above average, clearly, but the offensive support isn't there, why not throw out a Shador Sanders and say like, hey, like, and I don't want to sit there and say like he's your future quarterback, like he could take over the helm and everything. You don't know, but the only way you can know is to see him go up against other teams at full speed and really get a sense of like, all right, what do you have? Like, and obviously, like there's a lot of press with this, and naturally there will be. Hopefully, whenever Shador takes over as the number one option when the Browns wise up. But I don't think they're like it's easy to say like to throw them out there and say like, hey, if this works, it works. We can admit that we should have started him sooner. We have something good here, and if not, which they clearly have been like, maybe they're looking for it. Like, all right, see, like this is why we don't throw him out there. Either way, you have to see like we can sit here and speculate Shador is going to take over and be the future of this franchise, or he's going to struggle. But it's only speculation as of right now, simply because of them not giving him the opportunity, and Dylan Gabriel hasn't looked good. So that was a matchup in itself. But it was yeah.
Can
Go
I
ahead.
ask you something real quick about the Browns? Because I had this thought when kind of like after like reviewing some of these games, you just think about the Browns. There's been articles about Dylan Gabriel and everything like that. How do you think Deshaun Watson fits into all this? Do you think the owners who were very, very involved in getting Deshaun Watson to Cleveland, very involved, do you think they're still just kind of being like, this was a gap year and we'll get Deshaun Watson back next year?
I
Like
have a
that's
bad
why this whole quarterback thing has been so dysfunctional?
I have a bad feeling that's what it is, which is like, what was Deshaun Watson showing you before he got hurt? Where you're like,
Literally nothing. If
this is
anything, less than nothing.
yes. Like, but at what point do you say like, all right, like, and this is my entire issue with the Browns franchise is that instead of like just coming out and taking ownership and saying like, hey, we messed up, like we can cut our losses and like we messed up, we'll try to be better in the future, and like look at the Baker situation, right? Like Baker got them like from where the Browns were to like getting a playoff opportunity. Like it's crazy to to consider where the Browns were, and obviously like they're kind of back to like now like being the Browns that we know, but like they were a period of time where it was like they had hope, and that was because of Baker Mayfield. And to kind of like take that loyalty and be like, all right, like doesn't matter, like we're gonna get rid of you for well, I don't think it needs to be said. It was a decision in itself.
Yeah, and it's just like, and Nelson just asked, like, why waste 2 draft picks on these rookie quarterbacks? And I think because it's basically like they weren't going to fully commit one of their early round picks, which by the way, they got more. Like, remember, they made trades, like they got more draft picks, so they wanted they could have gotten one of these earlier quarterbacks. But I think what happened was they clearly, once they got to like day 3, they're like, why not just take a shot on 1 or 2 of these quarterbacks and just see if someone pops right, and then if they do, then maybe we move on from this big contract from Deshaun Watson. But like, you can't ignore that contract he has and just like how looming that is for your franchise. Which every year is like you're getting closer to it, but you're still paying this guy fully guaranteed, right? Like it was an insane contract that they gave him. So I think partly, and this is the thing about the Browns that annoys me. Like I haven't bit my tongue about how much I despise this organization and how they do things. But this is where it's like it feels all disjointed. Where it's like the ownership seems to want to do things and have certain players on the mind that they love. The GM, it feels like the coach, front office, and the ownership are all on like different pages. Like the coach, who's gotten coach of the year twice, has been touted as this highly like elite, like offensive minded play caller kind of guy. Although he just kind of gave up his play calling duties, I'm pretty sure. Which to him, I would. By the way, I would do the same thing if I was in his shoes. I'd be like, you know what, screw it. Like, I don't give up, but things aren't going well. We're just gonna try anything, and if it doesn't work out, then who cares? We're the Browns. But yeah, it just feels like everyone's on the wrong page. Like at times, like the GM would be like, "Well, we wanted to do this," and then the ownership will step in and be like, "Well, he wanted to do that," and it's like, well, okay, like it's just so weird, man. So it's like I don't know why they do everything that they do because none of it ever makes sense. But it's just the Deshaun Watson thing is still there, and it's sometimes it feels like this offseason is going to tell a lot about this organization because this is the offseason to make changes. Like are they going to trade Myles Garrett? What's going to be going to Deshaun Watson? What is the quarterback situation? If you trade Myles Garrett, do you just full sale because that's half your franchise right there is Myles Garrett. Do you just go full rebuild at that point? I would probably do that because their defense has been good enough to like win them some games basically, or just keep them close. But like, I just, and I feel like I'm rambling at this point because the Browns are just so confusing.
Yeah. It's very like Jekyll and Hyde-ish, where it's like you've built a defense that is like like by no fault of your own, it feels like, like you didn't intentionally plan this. Like you built a good defense. And partially that comes with just having Myles Garrett, and you can throw anyone else solid around him, and things will be figured
Well,
out.
their entire D line in general has been playing well. They have an elite corner. The
Yeah.
rookie linebacker that they have, Schlesinger out of UCLA, he's looking like he could be a defensive player of the year candidate now, especially since Jahad Campbell's taking less snaps. So it's like, and their defensive coordinator's good. Like we both love Jim Schwartz and what he did with the Eagles and everything like that. So it's like, it's weird. Dude. They're such a weird, terrible team organization. Top to bottom.
I'm gonna chalk this win up to the Jets fans, because even like they won the game, which is obviously pushing you a bit further from. Well, you're the same record now as the Browns. You're 2-7. It it pushes you further potentially away from a better draft pick, but you're in a much better direction. Like we've talked all year about Aaron Glenn being the guy for them, and how he's changing the culture of the Jets, which is like, it's not the hope isn't as bad as the Browns, because there's so much potential, and I like the moves that they've made, where it's like, wow, their GM maybe taking Madden advice about players. Like it seems like he still cares about the team, and is like at least on the same page with his like down to the coaching and the front office, to say like, hey, this is our direction, this is what we're trying to do, and like, if it doesn't work, like, and things are going, like, we're going to trade some pieces, we're going to get more draft picks, and we're going to rebuild this thing. And I like that direction that they're going in. So I'll chalk that for a win up to the Jets. My actual player matchup was just Amon-Ra, and then you can pick any Commanders DB. And it was because, like, obviously Marshawn Lattimore is out for the season now with them. And after I saw that, I was like, all right, this is going to be fun. Especially because, like, at times the Lions offense has kind of like, it hasn't been what we would have expected, which I think is what some people were worried about. When you lose a Ben Johnson, is like, all right, like, how much of that is Ben Johnson and how much of it is Dan Campbell? And I think it's fair to say, like, it's a bit of both. Like, it's a solid combination, where it's like Dan Campbell's like risk of like, I didn't want to, like, I'm saying yes, like Lattimore is out for the season for them, but and I've seen some Commanders fans saying, like, being very appreciative that he's no longer with them anymore. Or he's hurt. He's still with the team.
He was a net negative for them when he was out there. So I mean,
obviously he's come a long way from being a lockdown corner, which it's always sad to see when there's a corner you love that just doesn't have it anymore. But it wasn't really Amon-Ra in this game that kind of took over. He had 5 catches, 58 yards, a touchdown. And then allegedly thrown punch.
Oh no, not alleged anymore. He fully admitted it. He fully admitted it.
I wrote like a punch question mark, and then like I saw the like him come out and say it, and I was like, well, there it is. Jameson Williams kind of took over the show. Yeah,
he self-reported.
But he was like, it was accidental, and I was like, you know what, like, whatever. You already got passed without a fine or a suspension or anything. I would have just been like, all right, like, I don't know what happened. I didn't do anything. He's clearly a better person than me, at least morally. But like I was saying, like, it was really more of a Jameson Williams show. 6 catches, 119 yards, a touchdown. It's what you would expect from a Jameson Williams, like, especially when a lot of the attention does go on Amon-Ra in this game. You throw what little support you have at DB on Amon-Ra, and you have a Jameson Williams who can just, take off and use his speed to get into open spaces and really create danger. And then on the other side of this offense as well, Jahmyr Gibbs has been phenomenal. 15 rushing attempts, 142 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then had another touchdown through the air as well. So I'm worried going into this next game, but it does help that the Eagles have had a great showing, shutting down the Packers offense. And I'm really excited to see what this is going to look like next week.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm a little worried, but we'll talk a little bit more later. The lines just look really good right now, especially on offense. All right, was there any matchups we missed? I think we got them all.
Yeah, we got all the matchups. I'll jump right into what stood out. And we kind of hinted at it a little bit with Seattle. And DeMarcus Lawrence. I think, like, a lot of people were so focused on, like, the the Micah Parsons aspect of him leaving the Cowboys, that I think the DeMarcus Lawrence stuff kind of went under the radar a bit. Obviously, he had came out and said, like, I feel like Seattle has a much better chance of like being a contender than the Cowboys.
And people scoffed at him when he said
Yeah.
that.
And people clown this man. It was like, oh, like, yeah, sure, like, like, yes, the Cowboys, we laugh at them, but like this, Seattle in their minds, it's to start the season wasn't any better. And that is absolutely false as of right now, because the Cowboys they're still operated by Jerry Jones. So it's there's a basis right there that you have to clear, and it's not very high. And then even beyond that, Seattle has looked really good this year, and especially the defense. And DeMarcus Lawrence has played a crucial role in all of that.
Yeah, I'm just because I'll be talking about the Seahawks a bit more later, but I don't mind jumping into it now because I mean they're insane. The 2 touchdowns he scored came off of Tyrese Knight both times, the linebacker coming in and blitzing and forcing the fumbles, and then DeMarcus Lawrence just happened to be there both times, and he became the first player in NFL history to have 2 20-plus yard fumble recovery touchdowns, I think it was. So it's like, which is like obviously like a very niche kind of stat, but just insane that you're like, holy crap, like they did that in this game. It's just this game was over by like I don't know, some point in the second quarter. I'm not even gonna say by the end of the first half. Like there was a point in the second quarter where it was like, oh, they're cooked. Like they ran the ball like 75% of the time this game, the Seahawks did, because they had like 40 points at the end of the first half. So they were just like, screw it, we'll just run the ball the rest of the time. So I mean, there was nothing that the Cardinals could do after that point on offense. It was just I can't explain it. Dude, like this team, they blitzed the least amount in the league. I'm pretty sure, or they blitzed the second least amount in the league, but they still have the most pressures. So it's like their guys are just getting to you, and they give you like weird, like kind of like simulated fronts where it's like you don't know who's always coming, and there's just so many guys up on the line, then you don't know who's going to drop off into coverage. So it's, dude, the Seahawks defense, like there's so many good players on it, just across the D line, like at every level. Even Tariq Woolen is like just flashed a bit, like after he got benched, but he comes in and starts because of injury, and he's getting pass breaks up out there. The safeties and like the slot guys and Worry and Devon Witherspoon, like all of these guys are just, I mean, they're balling, man. I don't know how else to explain it, like because I'm going to get into it more later, but the defense is nuts, and that's not enough to say about the offense in general and what JSN has been doing, and then just the running game in general. They have 2 guys who can just kind of pop off at any moment. Sam Darnold is playing. He's just a good quarterback this year again for a second year in a row. And I'm kind of with you at the same point where I'm like, we'll see how things are when it gets a little bit tighter in the playoffs. But I mean, with the way this team is operating, it's hard to. I mean, but we'll talk a little bit later about the game they had this weekend, because don't worry, I'll get into that. But yeah, the Seahawks team, I've been on them all year as like a team where I was like, hey, Mike McDonald, we saw what he did with the Seahawks. We saw what he started doing the second half of last year with that defense. And this is one of the teams I was right on, man. Like, they've been crushing it on both sides of the ball, like I said. And the defense itself has just been, it's the identity of this team, which just feels right for Seattle, that you have a defense that's like the face of the team. They're fun. They fly around. They hit the hell out of you. Like, there's always like 3 people on the ball. It feels like they're just fun to watch for me, man.
Yeah. I don't have anything else to add, at least in regards to Seattle. So I'll transition over to what was definitely the upset of the weekend. And it was Buffalo losing to Miami 30-13. So Buffalo was coming off a big win against Kansas City, and everyone was like, well, like, to be fair, this is typical of what we would have expected from the Bills, the regular season Bills, that is. And then like they actually, inevitably losing to the Chiefs somehow in the playoffs. But it's still like, regardless of what happens in the playoffs, it still is a crucial win moving forward during the regular season every time. And so it was like, all right, like maybe this, and naturally there's always the hope of like, maybe this is the year, like this is the year that they can kind of ride the momentum. And then you see a loss like this against Miami, and it's like, all right, like, actually, I don't know about this Bills team. Like a team that like people were pretty like relatively confident as to come out of the AFC as one of the better teams, like just doesn't look as good. And like I don't want to sit there and say like, oh, they're they're not as capable in the playoffs or anything like that. But this, like, and I'll just say, like, this all starts with the run defense. They have the worst, or like statistically, they allow the most yards per contest, rushing wise. And this showed when Devon Achane, 22 carries, 144 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Dude,
And
it was
okay,
nuts.
it was insane. And my thing is, the question that came to mind is like, all right, is this a bad loss against a poor Miami team, or is this a loss against in a competitive, like, conference matchup? Because or, like, a competitive division matchup, I should say. Because, like, as bad as the Cowboys would be every year, every time they match up against the Eagles, it's going to be a matchup. Like, it's going to be something where it's a heavily competitive, opportunity where both sides, like, no matter how bad their seasons are, no matter how good they are, it's going to be relatively equal when the ball, is kicked off. And I was going back and forth about it, and I was like, "No, like, this is a bad loss." Like the Bills have like we've seen that they have the weakness of like their defense. Like it is very clear. And their run defense especially. And we saw that Devon A Chain took, complete control of this and just like, all right, like this is the best y'all got. Like I'm just going to run through your team. They allowed the second most rushing touchdowns as well. Like it the Bills defense is going to be the struggle for them because they're not supporting, but then also the offense only puts up 13 points. So it's and to be fair, there was a couple like there was the Miami defense showed up. I'll say that as well. Because they forced a couple turnovers on Josh Allen and it wasn't very Josh Allen like. So I'll say like the offense, I feel like, all right, like you had a bad showing and it just happened to coincide with your defense not showing up. But the defense, it just hasn't looked good all season.
Yeah, I we talked about them before, just like the poor tackling and everything, but it's starting to get scary, man. Like, I don't even know if I consider them like with the Bills like playoffs. If the defense is going to be like this, then what are we doing? Like honestly, especially against some of these teams in the like. If you got like a Bills Colts matchup, I feel like I'm confidently picking the Colts right now.
Jonathan Taylor is going for three touchdowns is kind of the norm from what we would expect from him. But
He's
it
going to hit
might.
his
I was about
averages.
to say. I was about to say you may throw in another one just to say he goes above average at 4.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, they
which
got time to
yeah,
figure it out. We've seen them turn around before. They're kind of on and off with their weeks, and they seem to get they're one of those teams that seems to play to the level of their opponent, which is never good. So when you're the Bills and you play to the level of the Dolphins, yeah, Jalen Waddle and AJ can just take advantage of that and run all over you. So I don't know, man. But at the end of the day, you have a good running back, a good O line, a good like you have one of the best quarterbacks in the league. You just don't really have much at the receiver room, but I don't know, man. Like, I'm not out on the Bills, but this is the least confident I've been in them since Josh Allen, like, was finally like that MVP caliber kind of quarterback.
yeah, and I think especially when you look at the rest of the AFC and it's like, all right, like I know people were probably still skeptical of the Colts. I don't see like at this point, I like especially with the Sauce Gardner trade, like I clearly would have them being a much better team to come out of like to be in the AFC Championship opposed to the Bills, especially the way the defense is playing. So I that's all I have to say about the Bills is y'all got to lock in, especially on the defense. And you mentioned the tackling. I think is the biggest issue because there are so many big plays that the Bills just like don't stop. Um, and it's started. Ooh, excuse me. Starting to get to a point where it's like it's becoming really worrisome. I mean, in the big plays, especially where it's like, all right, they've allowed 4 plays of 40 or more yards, which is second worst behind only the Titans. And then
Oof.
even plus 20 plus yards where it's 3 or oh, they're third with allowing 10 which is behind the Giants and the Dolphins. So it's it's just not good. And I like and you mentioned like obviously there's time to fix it, but what can you do to fix like poor tackling besides like, hey, like let's do tackling drills. Let's work on this in practice. And then even then, like
It's an effort thing, man. It's kind of
yeah.
like the NBA when you're like the rebounds are sort of like an effort thing at times. It's the same thing for me with tackling, man. Like you're professional NFL defenders, and we've seen a lot of these guys be good tackle. It's not like you don't just forget how to tackle. This just feels like something bigger could be looming in the background with their head coach, where it's like, okay, man, like we've rotated out all of these coordinators for you, and we still kind of get like a lot of the same results from you. So, I mean, it might be a sticky off season for him. All right, there's something we had to talk about that, like probably the biggest news of the week that we didn't actually talk about yet. That was, and speaking of former Bills, Brian Daboll got fired from the
Oh,
Giants.
I thought you were going in a different direction with this.
What do you think?
The Wicked Witch of the West is the Wicked Witch of the West is dead. Nico
Please have.
Harrison.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll save that for the basketball one. That one's I still have to buy a bottle of champagne for that one, even though I'm not a Mavs fan. But like, just the fact that like we got like an evil man out of the NBA basically. But yeah. So Brian Dable gets fired from the Giants. Makes too much sense. Like, there's no one being like, why did they fire him? It's like, yeah, like they have the worst record in football for like the past 2 years. So it's or like one of the worst records in football for the past 2 years since like 2023, I think it was. So they have been terrible. I mean, they've had a lot of injuries to like kind of like give him a bit of an excuse, right? Across the O line, you lose Malik Neighbors, even your quarterback. Although I think that's part of why maybe what helps the decision to fire him was the quarterback situation, how he was handling it this year. Starting Russ was never a good idea ever. That was stupid. And then you're bringing in your rookie quarterback who, he's flashed some stuff and he looks like, okay, maybe there's something here. But then he gets all these like injuries and he goes into the blue tent. You're fighting with your own medical staff on the sideline twice. He did it, and he did it again this like last game. I'm pretty sure where he got injured. It was like, dude, like you can't like you got fined once. This guy's got a concussion, and you're over there yelling at the medical staff, like saying like this guy's got to play. Like we need him, we need him. It's like if you're at that point with your team, then yeah, I can easily see the front office being like, we gotta get rid of this. Like this is bad. Like this is just it's a bad look. The offense is playing terrible. The team in general, like outside of like a few bright spots with like the D line and Malik Neighbors when he was out there, Scatterbo when he was out there injured. So it's like a lot of things went poorly, but they also didn't help themselves, or he didn't help himself. The only thing I'm confused about is why the GM is still there. I don't. I always hate it when a team like, and this might sound cold, but like firing a coach and not a GM, or a GM and not a coach, like it always seems weird because then you're bringing in like this is the kind of the better version of it, but like it's still at the end of the day, this is now like you can easily say like, oh, okay, Joe Shane, like the GM of the Giants, this is your last chance. Find a coach that you like and bring him in, and we'll see what do. Because remember it was Gettleman before, and Brian Dable had that one good season with Daniel Jones, and then things went downhill. Now Daniel Jones looks good, so that also probably doesn't help you out when the quarterback you let go last year looks like an all-star this year. But and this guy is supposed to be a quarterback whisperer. But so that's my thing too. You also didn't give this guy who's supposed to be a quarterback whisperer a chance with this quarterback, but I think also because of what's happened with Daniel Jones, they're probably just like, all right, screw it. I don't think you got it. But I don't know, man. Like where, and of course, Belichick already gets rumored to them just because of his history. But what's the move going forward with the Giants? Like I don't know if they're a full rebuild, but whoever comes back in here clearly needs to be offensive minded for them. I feel like.
Yeah, I would definitely say offensive minded, especially because like I hate to say it because being an Eagles fan and everything, but the Giants don't feel like they should be like as bad as they are. And like obviously I think a lot of that weighs on like just how talented just on paper the defensive line is. Where you have like you drafted Abdul Carter, and even before that you had like Kayvon Thibodeau, you had Sexy Dexy. Like there's these players there. It's like, all right, like they're going to make immediate impacts for your defense, and as bad as your corners can be, like it doesn't matter because they're going to get consistent pressure. Brian Burns is like playing like a defensive player of the year candidate. Like there's like you don't have to worry about that. So like, and then even on the offensive side of the ball, where like obviously Cam Scatterbo goes down, and that's a big blow. But when you've seen Jackson Dart, and you've seen enough where you can say like, all right, like barring any like major fall off of a cliff, like, and you handle the health right, and you're making sure he's protected, which is the biggest thing moving forward. It's like, all right, like I don't care like what it is moving forward. You need to shore up that offensive line because he's already been, like the concussion protocol stuff has kind of been an issue as it is, and the fact that like obviously it's crazy that Brian Dable is going in the blue tent, more than once. And I saw it like when it first happened against the Eagles. I saw like the next morning like an AI recreation, and it was like Brian Dable like running in. He's like, please, like you've seen Russ out there. We had to get him back in there. Which I was like, I mean, like to be fair, but either way, I think that like obviously the mindset for the rest of the season should be like, all right, like how do we protect Jackson Dart, like the health wise of this, where it's like
Or it turns into a fun season for you and me because we've been calling for Jameis to be a player.
He's already going to start.
He's starting this week. It's announced that
he
he started. Granted, I'm guessing Jackson Dart will be starting for them when he comes
Yes.
back. But like the fact that we are going to get 1 or 2 games with Jameis Winston, I'm like, let's go. I'm like, this is going to be fun. Like,
But even
finally.
then, and I'm not going to say you shut down Jackson Dart for the rest of the season, but like I do think you have to consider like, all right, like season's going downhill. Like we don't have a head coach. Like I do think they should monitor the situation and just say like, hey, like let's consider splitting games with Jameis and saying like how like one treating this concussion, saying like, all right, let's go an extra week. Let's give Jameis like 2 weeks, right? Boom, right there. Jackson is fully healthy to be in a position where you can confidently throw him out there. Maybe 2 more weeks, and then you give Jameis the final 2 or something. Like, I don't know like what that spread is. I'm just saying like moving forward, it should be like a hey, how do we consider Jackson Dart's health moving forward? And obviously it's exciting for us getting Jameis minutes, but it will be beneficial long term while you're still trying to figure things out to not just throw him out there to get killed when these games don't really matter for you the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to watch how they handle that. But I'm kind of one of those people who it's like you've already started him some games. Like he just needs as many reps as he can get at this point. So
Yeah.
you're gonna have to play him. You already broke the seal. But yeah. All right. Was there anything else that stood out this week that you want to talk about?
No, I will say it was a very exciting week of football. There was a lot of high scoring games, a lot of close scores. I do have one more thing. Danielle Hunter is a dog. I'm looking through the games again,
Yeah.
and I'm like, all right, there's a lot of close scores. Like, obviously, like you have Davis Mills coming in and like in the year of 2025 and making crucial diving touchdowns for them in the clutch. Which I was like, hey, like
He's playing his ass off.
I'm all for it. And somebody's inevitably going to be like, oh, like maybe they should consider like moving forward with him. And it's like, no, CJ Stroud is their guy. And if they can protect him and not let him get concussed, like
the only thing the Texans need to focus on this offseason, which should be a luxury for them, is just repairing the O-line. Because if you look at the rest of their team, and I don't mean to make this like a big picture thing, but we're kind of at that point with the Texans this season. So, like, first of all, I don't want to interrupt you talking about Danielle Hunter because he deserves his flowers for what the hell he just did this last game. Because him and Will Anderson in general have been amazing this year. But yeah, the whole CJ Stroud thing, like he is your quarterback for the future. The only thing this team needs is an O-line, like half of an O-line at least.
Do not let that man get out. And okay, and I will say like this is my thing with like when it comes to like off season stuff, and like obviously I'm clearly not in the NFL. Those aspirations ended a long time ago. But I like the way I look
Never
at
say
it,
never.
like hey, I still got time. When you have a player like CJ Stroud and you like his talent is widely known around the league, like to me, it's like you have a good quarterback, you have a phenomenal defense. Like as a free agent, as an offensive line, like talent, like why would you not be like, hey, like the Texans are a place to be, especially Texas and the whole like the tax situation and everything. There's good food in Texas. Like the way I look at this, and I'm like, hey, like, oh, no, why'd you do that?
Well, I mean, yeah, they do have good food in Texas. I'll give you that. But like usually if you're not from Texas and you're like trying to make it like, oh, Texas could be cool. It's like you usually like you have 2 or 3 things, and it's inevitably it's always the food, and then it's like okay, like maybe there's like 1 or 2 other things because like I lived in Texas for like basically like a year, and I was not a fan.
I'll just say, like, from a free agent perspective, I think like having a phenomenal player like CJ Stroud not only be like your quarterback, but the leader of that team.
Yeah.
Like, and that's above like, yes, he's your starting quarterback, but he is the heart and soul of this team. Like he was behind that playoff push a couple seasons ago, and he will be their guy moving forward. And it's like, all right, like you see what he's doing, you see how talented he is, like. Why not go play for him? Why not protect him so that I can be a part of a winning culture in Houston that they are cultivating over there with DeMeco Ryan? So I on paper, to me, it doesn't seem like the rebuilding of the offensive line will be that hard. Off the top of my head, I don't know like who's a free agent, but like I do think that like from their perspective, where it's like, hey, come play for DeMeco Ryan. It's like he's a great head coach. Have a great young quarterback in CJ Stroud. Texas isn't too bad. I see like, hey, you can improve this offensive line. And you could say, hey, you see our guys right now. Like you're not coming in and you don't have to compete. Obviously we want you to compete and play your best, but like it's guaranteed. You're gonna be a improvement over who we got, respectfully, of course. So
Yeah, I mean, I think they had the rookie tackle who they can keep going forward and maybe one other guy, but after that, you at least have to replace like 3 of your O linemen, and I mean, it's easier said than done, obviously, because there's just not that many starting caliber O linemen as there used to be in the NFL. It's actually kind of been becoming a problem, especially with college, like how they train up these O linemen. But I mean, yeah, you got to make some trades. You gotta expend like any draft picks you can early on O linemen. But
yeah, and I think that their team, especially like if there is like if there's a lot of buzz about a specific pick, like as we get closer to the draft time, like and it's the offensive line, and they're like 100% sure, like this is going to improve our chances. I could see them being aggressive and being like, all right, like we're moving up. We need to protect CJ Stroud. Like what do we need to give up to
well, so
move up
that
to?
that is the thing, though. I mean, everything I've been paying attention to with the NFL draft and the players, I've kind of started looking ahead a bit at the draft. But for everything that I've read and looked at, it's not a great O lineman draft, especially at the tackle position. So bad year to need one, I guess. But you never know. There's always some guys who
Yeah,
come out, or like there's like, oh, this guy was injured, kind of like Connerly and like some of those other guys. Like it was like, oh, they had some injuries, but now they can come back and play, and they look good. But oof, yeah, it's rough out there for
yeah.
O line needy teams.
But yeah, okay. Just real quick, like the Texans defense has been phenomenal all year, but Danielle Hunter had 3.5 sacks, 4 tackles for a loss, 7 total tackles, 4 QB pressures. Like it was insane. Like, and especially like down that stretch, like he sealed this game for them. And I like it's crazy that like he's like obviously a lot of the focus will go on the younger guys. Like we have a Will Anderson, like, but Danielle Hunter has played just as well this year, and he's looking like a monster out there.
Yeah, it's such a luxury to have edge rushers like that, man, because they really can just take over a game at times, and you're just like, oh, okay, cool. Our defense is just like locked down today, so now we
Yeah.
just need Davis Mills to get a couple touchdowns, and we're good to go.
Yeah, when you pair, like, a Will Anderson and a Danielle Hunter, like, just coming at your quarterback, and then you have, like, a lockdown corner and Derek Stingley, like, right there, like, it is a combo that is it is it is very much like you mentioned, it is a value to have that in the NFL, like,
I
and,
mean,
there's
to me, and this isn't a one for one comparison, obviously, but
yeah,
like you remember when the Broncos had Demarcus Ware, Von Miller, and then like Aqib Talib.
yeah.
It's kind of like that kind of combo where you're like what the hell? Like we have like half the field shut down because of these guys.
Yeah, and it's you mentioned that, and I like besides that, I can't think of like any team. I don't know, I'm probably missing something off the top of my head, but
Oh yeah, there's always like you get like combinations like this every
yeah,
once in a while, but
but it
yeah.
it, it truly is special when things kind of all align like this.
It just sucks that their offense is what it is. All right, let's get to our matchups for the next week. Oh yeah, I always start like, oh, what do you? It's always me that has to go first because you think I'm gonna do
No,
something crazy.
I didn't say that, but now that you mention it, I am a bit worried. Like that.
Well, no, I teased mine earlier. I think it's pretty obvious what mine is gonna be. This is Seahawks and the Rams. Like this, the moment I saw this game, I was like, oh, this is a game tailor made for me, like for my enjoyment. I was like, I get to watch these two teams that are both, very very good, like two of the better teams within their conference, but also within the same division. They're fighting for that division lead at this point. Um, we've talked at length already about the Seahawks defense and how good they are at getting pressure and just how they're locking people up on the back end and there's just the way they're flying around there. They look like the best defense in football. I'm actually kind of confident in saying that. But but they're going against a Rams offense, which is really, really, really freaking good, especially when you've got Matthew Stafford playing at not what I think is like an MVP kind of level. Puka Nakua, who at times this year has looked like the best receiver in football. Devontae Adams is still catching touchdowns for you seemingly every game now, and he just cooking younger corners anytime he's out there against anybody who can get it. And then they have like a mixture of tight ends, like especially the rookie one that they have, like performing well. Kyron Williams still gets you some touchdowns. Blake Corum's been getting more touches, which is kind of cool to see. But if you look at really, it's both of these teams, but the Rams a little bit more. They're both top five when it comes to like pressure rate against their quarterback, which is obviously like a good thing, right? Like that, like I think it's 20% for the Rams or something like that, where it's a low percentage that Matthew Stafford has had a pretty clean pocket most of this season. So now you're going against a team that presses people the most in the league. I'm really curious. Like if Matthew Stafford has a game where he's getting attacked, like we've seen the Seahawks attack every quarterback they've gone against, what does he look like? Is he going to be able to get the ball out of his hands quickly enough, or are they just going to be too quickly in his face where it's just kind of not going to matter? So I'm curious to see what the game plan is. Like for the Seahawks, I'd be like, our defense just needs to play like our defense. For the Rams, I'm really curious. Like, what does Sean McVay? What are the adjustments he makes in this game to go after them? And then on the other side of it, it's like we know what JSN, Sam Darnold, and all these guys can do on offense. They also do a pretty good job of protecting Sam Darnold. So can Jared Verse and some of these other guys get after him? And then who's stopping JSN in the back end of this team? Like, there's definitely he's going to get doubled. Is it going to be Quentin Lake or one of the other safeties, like shifting over to help out whoever the poor corner is? Which, good God, I hope it's not Emmanuel Forbes. But I mean, we'll see, man. Like that's one where like this could be a huge JSN game.
If it's Emmanuel Forbes, I can't
Barbecue
help
chicken alert.
but feel bad for Rams fans to imagine what's about to happen. But okay. The only thing I need to add about this, because it is a great matchup, is when you said Devontae Adams still catching passes, there's this clip that's been going around of him like he's getting ready to make a move and he just instantly reaches for his back. And like I saw the clip and it's just the outstanding music right after. And
Oh yeah.
I was like, I was literally like I was in tears watching.
Dude, can we just real quick, because he is a Hall of Famer. Like I don't think anyone can argue that. Can we just one of the best route runners that we've ever seen in football, but I think it's also just top 3 like just release off the line of scrimmage we've ever seen. Like he does this little like it's called like the diamond release where you're kind of like doing 3 or 4 steps before you even take off. And just the separation he's always gotten at the line of scrimmage has been just the best teach tape you can ever show like a young receiver. It's like, hey, if you ever want to get separation right off the line of scrimmage and be a great route runner, he has to be like one of the people you study. It's just insane how good he is at that, just the quick feet and everything. So, I mean, just I don't know why I'm talking about him like he's about to like retire, but like truly is and has been one of the best receivers to watch, and just so technically sound and smart, which is why him and Matthew Stafford I think paired together so well.
Yeah, you're a lot better with the technical aspects, but I think the one thing, and like the fact that I can maybe notice it is like the fact that like I think so many times you see receivers is that like they think like the faster I move, the more effective it is, and I think like that is not the case when you watch a Devontae Adams, where it's like he's not moving slow, but it feels like every step is deliberate. Where it's like it's literally like you're watching a master like at his craft, and it's like you like sit back, I'm gonna teach you something, son, and that's what it feels like every time. So that's it is funny. Like obviously, like the outstanding has become the official like washed anthem. I've seen too many Aaron Rodgers clips with it playing over it. But I think it was just funny.
I mean, anytime the Gap Band can get more recognition.
Oh yeah, of
I'm
course. So I always have 2. And I'm surprised you didn't choose the other one. Which is I mentioned Lions Eagles for every reason that you mentioned. I also really want to see the Buccaneers versus the Bills.
I thought about it. But I'm so sick of watching the Bills. Like I'm just like I'm over it. Like I got halfway through that Dolphins game and I was like, what am I watching?
Yeah, I literally wrote in my notes for Lions Eagles. I was like, come on, it's too easy. So I was like, I really want to see the Buccaneers and Bills just because like they're both coming off losses, with one of those losses being a lot worse than the other. I will say the Buccaneers game against the Patriots was like it was one of those games where the Patriots were better in the end. And that's just how it happens. And so like I didn't take away from this game that the Buccaneers weren't good enough. It was just the Patriots were just better. And like I think like it's either like you either lose games or the other team won, and I think the Patriots won that game. So I'm really interested to see like what the Buccaneers look like moving forward against this Bills team that's obviously going to like try to look for like a rebuttal and say like we still are a competent team in the AFC. Like we're not like this was just a fluke. We lost to the Dolphins, division rival type thing, and they can just blow it off as that. Whereas like the Buccaneers are getting healthy. Like obviously they're still without a Bucky Irving, which would have been great against this Bills like run defense. But either way, like it's going to be interesting. Like what is Emeka Buka going to do? Is he's probably like fully healthy now. Hopefully, like things are going to get really interesting for this game. So that's why I'm really interested to see this one.
So I just looked it up because while you're talking, I was curious, just like the numbers with the Buffalo Bills when it comes to like tackling, basically. They're worst in the league when it comes to yards at the contact with running backs by like a wide margin too. By the way, like it's not great. It's they're allowing about 4.5 yards after contact per rusher. So that basically
Jesus.
means like if the Bills ever touch a guy, he's basically getting like half of your down and distance still either way. So not great. So yeah, Bucky Irving, Rashad White, like where would is back there? I still think like Sean Tucker, like they can still have a good game. And then the Bucks, just to add on to your point, like why this could be a fun game. They are a really good defense, and I think their DBs could really kind of like physically bully some of these Bills receivers, especially with how they play. But if there's someone that could pop off this game, maybe Khalil Shakir, because the Bucks also, when it comes to receivers yards after contact, they're not great at all. So I just I don't know. I'm trying to like pick at straws here, like why I would want to watch this game because I'm so over the Bills right now. But yeah, I see this as like, dude, I think Emeka Ibuka might pop off this game.
I really hope so. Once again, a fantasy fantasy prospect I have. Bucky Irvin is still doubtful for this game. He's been like dealing with the injury for the past couple weeks. But like, yeah, you mentioned like Rashad White, Sean Tucker. This will be an interesting game for them. And this is also I realized this morning. And I was like it was a random thought to like have as a ball knower, and I was like the Buccaneers.
Self-proclaimed.
Yeah, I was like the Buccaneers still have Jalen McMillan like just like stashed away on IR.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, they are like really set. Like, because I was thinking about like how good Emeka Buka has been, and I was like, dang, like I was like, Jalen McMillan is still on this team, and I was like
And he
obviously
looked
like
good last year.
yeah, and I was like obviously like you obviously would want like a Mike Evans, and like Mike Evans is getting old. Chris Godwin is inevitably always a free agent target. Like it's just every year. Which I like. I obviously they franchise tagged him like a couple times. It's a whole
They,
free
they
agency
just
is a
signed him
mess.
to a 2-year deal, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why I was like, oh, like it at least will be quiet for a little bit. But even then, like when he comes back, like there's always some needy teams for receivers. I know the Patriots got Stephon Diggs, but I feel like they're on the top of the like. I've seen a lot of them like be like, all right, AJ Brown, we love him here. So I I just wanted to say the Buccaneers are deep, especially
Yeah,
at receiver.
they look like a team. I mean, they have their GM doesn't get talked about as much as like Howie does, but he is also, I think, one of the better GMs in football, easily. Jason Light.
Yeah,
Okay, so yeah, this will be good. All right, let me hear, or do you want me to go?
yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I gotta go first on these. Sorry. Okay, the unit matchup I have. This one is a bit
Oh,
okay.
here we go. That can't be good.
I got the Jags O line versus the Chargers D line. Yeah, that face says it all. Yeah. Look, man, a lot of this is kind of like the Jags got off to a really hot start offensively. This is where I break it down and I make you see why I'm picking it. So the Jags offense, those first 5 weeks of the season, right, this season, got off to a really hot start, right, running the ball well with Etienne. Trevor Lawrence was still, there's some miscues with the new offense with him and Liam Cohen. But like there were times it looked really good. Like I mean, think about like the Chiefs game, right? Like you saw like when this offense was at full capacity and playing really well, that they could be an elite kind of unit. And especially the offensive line, like they were protecting and opening up holes on the run game. Like just in general, the O line was playing really well. That's gone down. Like they're definitely in a slump right now. For the past like 3 or 4 weeks. So I'm really curious. I want to see against the Chargers D line that's obviously like a little banged up, but still has like good edge rushers and Tua below too, and some good guys up the middle like Autry and whatnot. So I'm curious to see can this Jags O line have a bounce back game and where they can protect Trevor Lawrence and give him time because he's going to need the time because the Chargers play the heaviest zone like out of every team in the league. I think they play the zone like way more than anybody else in the league. And Trevor Lawrence struggles the most against zone coverage. That is where he struggles most. So if he doesn't have any time and he's playing against a zone heavy scheme without, by the way, Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr., Jacoby Myers, good luck. But I mean, we'll see. This is a game where this game is crazy important. It's less important for the Chargers, especially this one they just got this last week. But for the Jags, with the slump that they're on, man, like if they lose this game, like I'm already kind of like on the line of like I'm pretty sure they're not going to make the playoffs, especially with like I mean, look at the AFC West, man. Like they're probably gonna have 3 teams go to the playoffs. Like the Chiefs being the third one out of that. So if you're not winning this division, which they're not going to with the Colts, I don't know if the Jags really have a way to get to the playoffs. But if they lose this game and struggle, like they probably will against this Chargers defense, it's kind of a wrap on the season. So that's kind of why I'm like honing in on these specifics with this game.
Yeah. Once again, you've convinced me. It won't be as bad as it, as it sounds on paper. My unit matchup of the week, it's the Ravens offense versus the Browns defense.
Okay.
And especially because you mentioned like the
Oh.
Ravens just like getting in a rhythm, which obviously is crucial. And then you go up against the Browns, who once again, like ignoring the divisional aspect of this for a minute, like it's the Browns. Like they're going to like defensively, especially like, are going to challenge this Ravens offense that's getting healthy, is trying to figure things out, and is making this push in the second half of the season. And then you add in the fact that they're division rivals, and these matchups are always like messy because it's the AFC North. Like it feels like the perfect like test for the Ravens, especially because you're looking at the Browns and you're like, all right, like how much chaos can you cause the rest of the season? How many sacks are we going to see from Myles Garrett? How are we going to see a Schlesinger play the rest of the season? How like is the Brown defense going to ruin someone's season? And I think like this is the perfect moment where it's like, all right, like the Browns looking to play spoiler and just cause chaos, and the Ravens are trying to find consistency and get things, keep things rolling.
Yeah, dude, Myles Garrett. I mean, that's really what it's like. Can Myles Garrett just do enough? Because I talked about earlier about how quick Lamar has been getting the ball out and everything. So can they rush with 4, and can the rest of the people behind them, like the young linebackers in the secondary, can they do enough? I don't know, but I mean, we'll see. I agree with you. This could be a fun one to watch, like, mainly just because it's like a Lamar Myles Garrett kind of matchup. But yeah, and then Derrick Henry, man, like there's gonna be. Do you think they run with him towards Myles Garrett?
I honestly like that is like
I want to see a Derrick. Well, what I'm getting to is I want to see a Derrick Henry stiff arm attempt on Myles Garrett.
I would that I don't think it's possible. That's
That would
like
break. That would break the whole NFL world if he
that
got a
is
successful stiff arm on Myles
that's
Garrett.
Andre the Giant versus Hulk Hogan right there. Like
Oof.
it's
Even I know that one.
I was like, that's a layup. I was like, he should get that one.
Hey, that guy was in The Princess Bride. Great movie. The other one was in the best Rocky movie, but we don't talk about him as much. Rocky 3.
That's the best Rocky movie in your opinion?
Yes. Clubber Lang is one of the coolest, like, and most fun villains that's been in a movie like that, man.
I'll give you
Mr. T.
I'll give you awesome. Mr. T and Clubber Lang, phenomenal, and Rocky 3.
Freaking awesome, bro.
Rocky 3 as a whole is not the best.
Yes, it is. It just is.
I would say
you got plastic surgery, Rocky Balboa, the statue that gets put up, which is now iconic in Philadelphia. That statue wasn't around until the third movie. And dude, the fight, there's 2 big fights in it. First, where he gets his ass kicked by Clubber Lang, and then the redemption in it. The trainer dies, Mick dies, bro. Dude, it's so good. It's such a great, like, I didn't mean to make this like a whole Rocky 3 like. But because I've thought about this a lot, like I truly have argued so many times that Rocky 3 is the best one. The whole story arc in it, where it's like he's had the highs, he's had the lows, and he's in this good place with his house where he's like, oh, he's so rich, but then he has to go against it's like he gets humbled, dude. You can call me a homer all you want, Nelson. I don't care. Rocky 3 is the best Rocky movie in the franchise.
I'm gonna have to rewatch all of them, but as it stands, I have both Rocky 2 and Rocky 4 over. And yes, like I know Rocky 4 is like the most cliche like movie of the era of all time, where it's like it's really America versus Russia and everything.
Oh yeah,
but
it was a movie for the times.
Yes. Regardless, it is still iconic. I don't think.
Although the Rocky 4, the training scene where he doesn't do the gym and he's running in the mountains and training in the barn, that whole montage is sick.
It is like, and I will say the movie, when you like thinking about it now, it is like 50% montages. But that was once again like just how the 80s were, how the movies were back then. And guess what? It was cool. And Apollo Creed dying, it always sticks with me. And then
coming out the James Brown though, I mean,
yeah, it's iconic. So I think I had both, and then Rocky 2, like the whole thing where it's like, all right, like it follows off the success of the first one. I really like that as well, because it just kind of establishes it and builds upon the lore. But I would say like 4 is like, as cliche as it is my favorite.
So it's that time of the night again, huh? Where you got the loud music.
Okay,
in
yes,
the
okay,
studio.
I'm not going crazy. Anyway, Trayvon Henderson just scored his 3rd touchdown, this time through the air.
Damn.
Things are getting crazy.
It's the Jets. Is it really that crazy?
Yeah, well, okay,
They
let's
got rid of their best defenders, including like their best run defender. So,
yeah. Alright,
all right.
what's your player matchup?
This one is not sicko. This one was a layup for me, by the way. This one, like, I didn't even want to look up stats on this one in general. Like, this was one where I was just kind of like, you know what? I just want to watch these guys, and I don't even want to think about like all the outside stuff, which is pretty unusual for me. I got Amon Ra versus Cooper DeJean. You have a guy who plays most of his snaps in the slot in Amon Ra, and the same thing with Cooper DeJean. He primarily plays in the slot. I was surprised at how much of Dory Jackson we saw against the Packers, but I mean, when everything else is working around you, you can cover up deficiencies like Adoree Jackson in the secondary. So I'm curious, man. Like, I think we're gonna get like this is one of those situations where it's like I think we can pretty much predict that we're gonna see this as like a pretty heavy one-on-one matchup throughout the course of the game. So it'll be a fun one to watch and then review later on.
Yeah. So, inevitably, I think I'm gonna start calling it my flex pick. My flex pick, it's Justin Jefferson versus JJ McCarthy. And
Ooh,
it's really because like I just want to see when things are gonna click, and I'm gonna start calling them JJ squared. When things are going to click for JJ squared, because you mentioned it, just like JJ McCarthy, he's looked like a rookie. And I think like we're so used to having a CJ Stroud come in his rookie year and look impressive, a Justin Herbert even taking it back to his rookie year and come in and look impressive and just look comfortable, that I think like at times the expectations for rookie quarterbacks is set too high. And I think like this is like
always.
yeah, and naturally that's just how it is. Like it's a lot of
Dude,
pressure.
okay. On that note, have you seen people saying that like Cam Ward was a bad pick for the Titans?
Yeah, I was
I'm gonna
actually just
start
about to
slapping people, bro.
I was
I
I
swear
was
to
just
God.
about to throw him out there too. Like the expectations around like Cam Ward right now, and if he isn't coming out and like lighting up the world, then like it's a bust. Like Caleb Williams, like okay, to be fair, Caleb Williams hasn't looked like the number one overall
Hey,
pick,
Caleb
but like
Williams has been looking good. That last
yeah,
drive he had to win the game was that got Brand Dable fired. Thank you, Caleb Williams.
but he has just looked a bit inconsistent from what you would have expected from a number one overall pick. But naturally, people will overreact regardless.
Yeah.
And I think like JJ McCarthy is a situation where it kind of like I think it should humble people and say like not everyone can come in and just look super comfortable. There are rookie learning curves, and it's not realistic to have like someone come in and say like, oh well, you have Justin Jefferson, you have Jordan Addison, like things you'll be perfectly fine. Like you don't have to worry about adjusting to the NFL game speed or just like understanding the defenses or understanding any of that. Like and yes, like I think a lot of this also goes on like Kevin O'Connell and just being like, all right, like you know you're this great offensive mind and we're trying to see it, but like at the end of the day, it is still a rookie quarterback. You still are working through these kinks. There's a lot that you're trying to figure out. So I'm not sitting here going, well, like the Vikings are just like, just not good or anything. Like it's just it's going to be an interesting matchup because Justin Jefferson he's Justin Jefferson. He's phenomenally talented. He normally is the best receiver in the league. And I think it's sooner than later it's going to click, but it's just a matter of when is that going to happen.
Is Diggs playing right now?
He was, I believe so.
Okay, because Cardi B just had her baby. So
Oh, yeah, yes, yeah, he was. I saw them out there.
Okay. Hey. I was just curious. All right. But no, I agree. Like the whole because there's a lot of questions coming up now. Like, hey man, if you're not able to put up some good numbers with Justin Jefferson, like what's going on? Especially like, and I would like to throw. I would personally like for him to throw to Jordan Addison more for selfish fantasy reasons. But yeah, dude, I like that one a lot because if there's anything that can save your career as a young quarterback, it's having a guy like that who can kind of like lift you up and give you like more time and options to develop.
Yeah. My actual player matchup of the week. We always pick on the Cowboys every week.
Oh yeah.
And
Who they play? I didn't even look because I was just like I was ignoring them. Who they play? Hold
and
on.
so they had a bye week last
Can I
week.
guess? Hold on. I
Yeah.
want to guess. I'm actually excited about this. It's like our weekly like okay who's picking on the Cowboys defense. All right, we got the Raiders.
Okay, right. We love to say, all right, who are the Cowboys playing, and let's see how impressive the other team looks, right?
Whew.
And guess what? The Cowboys had a bye week last week, so I not gonna lie, we was kind of starving. I was like, it's usually an easy matchup, and I that one kind of hurt. It set me back mentally for a little bit. So what did I do? I went right back to it this week. We have Ashton Genty versus Quentin Williams because I was like, all right, like Ashton Genty, phenomenal rookie or phenomenal player. Rookie season a bit mixed, but it doesn't go in hand because he's playing for the Raiders, and your guy Geno Smith has kind of set him back a little bit. And also the offensive line, of course. But
Yeah, listen, I'm going to take the L on that one. I will forever hold that those 3 years that Geno Smith was in Seattle, he was playing like a top 10 quarterback. I will forever, ever die on that hill. He was an amazing passer when he was with the Seahawks. And then he went to the Raiders, who had somehow a worse offensive line than he ever had in Seattle. And things just predictably fell apart.
cue the outstanding music is all I'll say.
Yeah.
But
the bright side of it for both you and I is that this makes Chip Kelly look bad.
absolutely. Oh yeah. I don't even call him.
There's no here we go again, Nelson. Okay, I'm not going on a Geno Smith rant. I just said I'm taking the loss on this one.
He's not. He's in my mind. He's not even called Chip anymore. That's Charles Edward Kelly. That's
Charles Edward.
I don't even like calling him by like it's his full government name. But on the Cowboys side of this, it's like they brought in all these new additions because Jerry wants to stop the run. And a big Quentin Williams right in the middle of your defense. Let's see it, right? Let's see how well this looks. And I'm really interested to see like how like if anything like I think like as we saw from like the Jalen Phillips side of this, like there isn't really a big adjustment. Like obviously you still have to learn like the specific system of your team, but there isn't a big like adjustment opposed to like getting a new corner, like a Sauce Gardner, and them having to learn the playbook, them having to learn certain formations and anything. Like your job, stop the running back, stop the quarterback. Obviously there's some stuff with that, but
your job is be better than Mozzie Smith was.
Yes, exactly. So I'm really interested to see what that looks like. Do I still think the Raiders offensive line will like completely fail Ashton Genty? Absolutely. But either way, I really just want to see like him, and obviously he had a great game against the Bears a couple weeks ago, but I really want to see like an Ashton Genty performance where he can break out. And if there's any team, it typically would be the Cowboys, but at the same time, I'm also interested to see like how these adjustments will make because they did have a bye week to actually like kind of implement a bit more of these players into their system and kind of learn things a bit more. So I'm interested to see this one.
Yeah, if the Raiders have a good offensive outing against the Cowboys, I'm gonna be laughing for a whole week, bro. Like if Brock Bowers and not Jacoby Myers, sorry, but like Trey Tucker or like guys like that just have like an insane game and Ashton Genty's running around everywhere, it's gonna be hilarious. And I like it's gonna be so much fun to like look at like Cowboys Twitter.
I can tell you who's not gonna be behind that. Geno Smith.
I hope he throws for like 403. I really do.
And if he does, he does. And you know what I'll say? I'll say I'm wrong. Just like you said you were wrong about Geno Smith.
I wasn't wrong about him when he was in Seattle. But
you can keep prefacing it all you want, but you were like, I really like this Geno addition, and he's going to ball out in Las Vegas. And
I'm not alone in this, by the way. Every time I do this, I feel like I'm crazy. I'm like, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one that thinks this. I'm like, it's an island, but like, it's not a stranded island. Okay, it's like one of the smaller Hawaiian ones. Okay, I'm on Kauai with this one. All right.
My final thing to add before we close up: Jazz counter, unfortunately, went down the game. We are at 21 games. They have 4 wins on the season. So
yes, sir.
21 games, 20 more wins. 21 more wins until I potentially have to buy an Ace Bailey jersey. So I think we're looking good.
George Sensabaugh marketing while he's still there. It's looking good. It's looking good.
We will see.
Yeah, we'll talk some basketball here soon. Because we got a few things to catch up on there. But all right, man. Is there anything else NFL wise you wanted to talk about?
No.
All right, good show as usual, man. Always enjoy doing this with you. We'll be back again for our weekly NFL show next week, hopefully on an earlier day, but still don't mind doing this day, especially on a Thursday night football when it's a game like this. But thank you, everybody, again for tuning in. We will see you again next week.